We're live. Hey, LED fans. I'm Cesar Torres. I'm the founder and designer of LED Queens Fitness Apparel, and we're continuing our series of discovering the lives of LED fans. These are people who have engaged with my brand, with the things that I make, and it's not just about the products, it's about the ideas behind LED Queens. I've got with me here in Skype, live, and in the studio, one of our favorite LED fans, Paulo Batista. Welcome, Paulo.
Hello, hello.
So you're basically the second LED fan we've ever interviewed in this way, and we always start with the beginnings, almost like a superhero origin story. Can you tell us a little bit about what your life is like, who you are, what you do, and where you live?
Okay. Well, right now I'm originally from Florida, Central Florida, a nice red state, but kind of got sucked into moving into California. Obviously, a more gender, LGBT friendly state. And I got caught up into the world of Target. Currently, I'm property management for Target. So I take care of making sure the building's brand for the guests, keeping the store safe for not only my team, but the guests as well. Um, I also work on the side with an LGBT transgender trans family services support group. I'm on the board, so I help kids with their transitions, but it's also not limited to kids, but also adults. And currently, that's where I'm at. I've been in the fitness world now for 13 years. Started off from a bad accident, being introduced to physical therapy, which was located inside a gym. So it kind of got me into the taste of what lifting weights was like. And ever since, I just kind of kept with it. It always gave me a new insight to life and an escape, I guess you can say. I guess we all have our own escape with it. But so,
No,
now, yeah, lovely San Diego.
I'm very jealous of it. You have that lovely weather all year round. That's really cool. I actually only knew half of that story. I follow your Instagram, and sometimes you talk about your work, and you've definitely mentioned Target. You've shown photographs, but that's really interesting. We don't have to dwell on the details of that accident,
Yeah.
but can you talk a little bit about back in the day when that fitness bug was starting to hit for you? What is it that started to push you forward and like harder and harder to basically do what you do today, which we're going to show some photos. You really do a lot of like bodybuilding. You are a bodybuilder. You have the physique, you have the shape, and a lot of people are always curious, like, how did this person get to that point? So maybe you can share a little bit about how you got there.
Well, I'll give a forewarning. A little bit of it's not as pretty as it sounds. So, but obviously, with the accident that I had, I actually flew out of a chair and fractured my pelvis. So I lost my ability to walk. Um, and due to that, it took quite some time. Obviously, a lot of leg machines and walking with crutches and everything else that you can think of. It took a while. And just getting that touch of how the weights were actually helping me become stronger, guys kind of grew onto me. I was in high school at the time, so it was kind of interesting. So I did limited stuff. I wasn't a kid, you don't know much about the weight room or the gym, and I got to meet some power lifters along the way. So they kind of enticed me as eventually when I got to college. And at that time, I had a scholarship for softball, obviously, my past life. And kind of just kept with it during that time. But then I suffered a severe shoulder injury playing ball, and I kind of got into a depression, as some athletes do. And I ended up getting an eating disorder, and I took the gym the wrong way. Uh, Getting a little overweight, always having that fear. The eating disorder became a disease, I guess you can say. From that point, that's the ugly side of it. I actually met somebody who was involved in bodybuilding. I didn't really know it was a competition or a sport at the time. I just kind of liked lifting weights and seeing power lifters. Um, and from that point, he kind of helped me, to be honest. I was also, through the time, little did I know, suffering my gender disorder. Um, I always wanted to get rid of my curves for a reason. And, but I found out that lifting weights and building muscles kind of got me closer to the physique that I was seeking, which was a more masculine physique. And finding out that bodybuilding was a sport and being also in a small red state, little town in the red state, it was able for me to have that masculine figure without being judged. Like it was acceptable to be a female bodybuilder at the time, especially when I met the coach who did bodybuilding for years. She was my coach for a long time, helped me compete in a couple of shows, and I ended up turning my eating disorder into, well, I have to eat in this manner if I want to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of stood around to help me get past my eating disorder. And then I competed for a few years, 2002, 2004. Now it seems so long ago now. And eventually in 2010, along the way, I decided it was time for me to transition. There was a couple of things in my life path that influenced me to realize where I really stood with myself. And it made me realize, like, wow, I've been holding this back for years. We all know that drag queens exist. But for me, there was also the opposite, polar opposite, drag kings. And,
Oh yes.
little did I know, yeah, little did I know I was doing that for years. And, for me, it was kind of like an escape to be the part of me that I was internally holding and not expressing, and I was able to express in this manner. And eventually, it just all clicked. And in 2010, I decided to start my transition. Amazing little fact here is I was actually dating a trans man at the time. He was my partner then, and he actually was from Australia. So to get away from the small state and red state, he helped me move to Australia for 3 months. And at that point, that's where I started my transition, because in the country of Australia, they consider it a sexual disorder, and it's all free. They don't charge to help you see doctors for transitioning, unlike here in the United States. Of course, you still see, psychologists and the proper doctors. But he helped me do it all for free, and which took a lot of stress without being, and also in a country that doesn't really judge people. I really loved Australia for that, because they were really upfront people. They told you if they didn't really like something. And it was a nice way to open up and to find out who I really was in a country that didn't even, who didn't even know me. So it gave me that freedom. But eventually I moved back, obviously. Um, and I just started over and started my path again with bodybuilding, gaining my physique the way I wanted to, starting to see the person that I really was seeing, wanted to see in the reflection. And it just, I kind of got a self love, personal love for myself. Like every day was a new chapter. Every day was a new, let's step, what's the challenge this week, and bodybuilding was more of my way of letting the stress out, working on myself, falling more in love with myself, because every day you see yourself change. It's a challenge. It becomes a lifestyle.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And every workout became a one step closer to self-love. Still is to this day.
Yeah,
It's just,
isn't that true? The
and now I
truth,
get to
yeah.
use it to inspire other people. Um, I like to help as many people as I can in and outside of the trans world. I have a lot of cisgendered males and females also. I mean, they kind of find out my background. They're like, wow, if you can do it, I can do it. It's like anybody can do it. It's your mindset, but let me help you get there. Like I didn't get started without somebody helping me. So nobody can expect to get, started without helping them from somebody else. And, yeah, some people charge, but sometimes it's that connection you make in doing it at first as a friendship and free. It's like, wow, you really do care. I'm like, yeah, here's the steps. I can give you these pieces to the puzzle to start it. And now you have to follow through with the rest.
Yeah, so that's the key right there. It's community, and it's the very reason why I'm doing these interviews. It's to basically say, hey, it's the real stories of pride, transformation, fitness challenges. They're really based on what people really do. And, as we go through with this series, we're going to have all different kinds of stories. It's not just people who got really jacked. For some people, it's simply, like maybe they overcame diabetes, like, and it doesn't matter what they look like. It's just the quest for fitness. And so, I love looking at your Instagram because it is really inspiring. I mean, for me, my involvement with bodybuilding is casual, meaning I came to it late in life, and it's something I really enjoy. But at this point in the game, which I'm 45, like I put in all the training. I love the nutrition. Like I really actually enjoy putting it all together. But just in terms of how busy I am with my work, my books, and my companies, I don't think I'm going to be like signing up for a meet anytime soon, even at the master's level, for a lot of reasons. But it's part of my world. It's what I put on the designs of LED Queens. It's a big part of this, and I do feel very political about some aspects of that community. I am very lucky, and it sounds like you are too. Here in Chicago, I go to basically a bodybuilding gym, and the community I found there has been very welcoming, very inclusive for the most part. And a lot of people often wonder, they go, what's that world like? Is it really homophobic, transphobic, et cetera? I would love to hear a little bit from you on the ups and downs that you've encountered in the culture of bodybuilding over the years. Like, what has that been like for you? Because you've had many years doing this.
Yeah. So, as a female bodybuilder, there was always, people had their judgments. Females with muscle just wasn't, and then you had the polar opposite where you had guys really into it, people really into it, like, oh wow, powerful, that's attractive, really. And it's just the world that we live in. People are for it or not for it. Some in the middle. But so I always had being in the Florida with the small city that I lived in, because there was prior female bodybuilders, and one of the biggest personal trainers who owned a gym in that city was a female bodybuilder, it was slightly more accepted to see a woman working out hard. I still came across the men that are like, here I am at the pull-up bar in the middle of the rack, and they're like, no, I have to get in first. I've always had that. But, once I moved and transitioned, and I actually started lifting weights in another city that was more LGBT friendly. It was called St. Pete, Florida. Being trans and open was more accepted there. It wasn't as judgmental. And coming back post transition, I actually came back to the small gym that I used to go to, Gold's Gym in this little city. Oh, yeah. It was hard at first, but nobody would actually talk back to me because, they had the respect of who I was as a person before. But, you had the guys that would talk behind your back, like me going from the female restrooms now in locker rooms to the male, they didn't like it. But at the same time, the gym owner says, well, we can't enforce this person not to go there. So suck it up, buttercup. Yeah. Yeah. They, if the cops were to come or they knew they'd be in trouble, my IDs are all changed. Everything's in the situation. Not that a lot of trans people have that opportunity, but at the same time, it's kind of forced. But it did have the negative impact of that. Nowadays, it's a little bit different. I guess some of the gyms I go to, they're not really openly LGBT. We have some here in San Diego that are LGBT friendly. And then you have some that are more in the hood, quote unquote. And I still kind of push the limits. I occasionally like to wear your rainbow leggings.
Yeah, which you're actually on the screen right now. You're wearing them in the overlay. That's awesome. Yeah. So you push it. I love this. I love this. These are the stories I like to hear.
I wear your shirts all the time, and of course they look at me and they're like, wait a minute. I was like, what are you going to say? I have built my body that the respect that they see, and plus a lot of these people see me in the gym every day. So they know, like, okay, this is somebody who's not trying to start drama. They are respectable. Yeah. They do have this lifestyle, and they kind of just are cool with it. Nobody ever comes against me. I still go into the locker rooms, with the prideful gear, because
Yeah.
I enjoy to wear it. I like people
Yeah.
to know, like, hey, people like me exist.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've worn trans shirts, and of course, it doesn't click for some, but for some it does. And the questions come, and I just explain. Most people fear things they don't understand. That's typical in life. And when they meet somebody that they know that they can respect before knowing their actual past, then it's easier for them to understand and take the information and education. I know in the community, a lot of us get angry when people come at us with the negativity. But I try to explain, like, a lot of it comes because they don't understand. So when I get that negativity, I try to pass education first
Right.
and be like, listen, do you understand the truth behind this? Or do you know the real background? No, I don't. And it's like, then this is why you're scared. You don't understand it. So let me educate you. After I give you the correct information, if you feel otherwise or have more questions, I am an open book. I'll be more than happy to go deeper into the subjects. But, most of the time, once I explain most of the easiest topics or what's going on, they're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. I'm like, they're like, okay, I get a better understanding.
Well,
That's the fear.
well, I completely agree. I think, I'm coming up on 46 years on the planet this year, and I'm firmly rooted in, I guess, being Generation X. So some of our attitudes about coming out or whatever seem on the surface to be a little different than millennials, et cetera. But in general, one of the things I remember taking away from university when I was a younger person, and just the culture, the queer culture at the time, which was like the 90s, was that, and I still believe this, sharing our narratives is the most powerful and political thing we can do. It's radical. And what you're talking about happens to me all the time because for me, I don't know how, I have a lot of privilege that I carry with me. For some reason, I was blessed with good parents and my own personality that I was born with. So I haven't had too much fear going into multiple spaces of the planet and saying, it's just me. I'm myself and I happen to be gay. And if you want to challenge that, I can get into a conversation around it. It's something that basically fuels what I'm doing with this because it is something I can give back to people who don't feel that courage, who don't, who have been literally oppressed all their lives. And so, what I often tell people, whether it's somebody who seems on the surface to be homophobic or has said something insensitive, I often tell them, I say, well, maybe the reason why you don't understand this is because you've never actually spent real time with a lesbian, a gay man, a queer man, a trans person. And that's, in my experience, 9 times out of 10, once a person gets to know you, even if they disagree with your political views, religious stuff, etc., a bridge is built. And I've had many good experiences like that because even at my gym, there's some people, who are maybe conservatives, etc., but we found kind of a common ground because I do the same thing. I wear this stuff in there and I'm very proud of it. So I love hearing that that's something that is active for you in the community. And I think I can tell because even here in Chicago, like there's people that know you from Instagram. I have a lot of trans family, like biological family, and also chosen family here in Chicago. And your name has come up. They're like, "Oh my God, that's one of your customers! Oh my God!" And I would love for you to talk a little bit about, I guess, presenting and like these images of, because you've got basically a body that I'm envious of. I mean, you're looking really great. But I think for a lot of people, especially if they're younger or they don't understand fitness, health, and bodybuilding, because there is an extra aspect of bodybuilding of how much you have to really do to do that, that maybe you can speak to. Because I think, everybody's idea of what they would like to look like, for many people, it would be to look like you. So what would you tell a person like that maybe is somewhere on their journey of gender expression, and they go, but how do you do it? And like, how is that possible? How do you deal with those conversations when you get them?
When people come with me, I get a lot of, trans folks, they message me and I try to answer as many as I can back. I just try to give the basic building blocks, something that they can build off of. I mean, people can give plans and meal plans and this, and it's hard. It's hard to make it a lifestyle. Like you can handle it for 3 weeks and then you kind of, oh, I'm
So yeah,
frustrated. I
many
can't
people
do
drop off. Yeah,
this.
yeah, you're right.
And, I'm like, okay, so let's make it easy. Don't try to go off of, a staple that you see where it's just neat. Da, 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 da. I need you to take that outline and then I'm going to give you a smaller, easier outline because we all have to start from the beginning. I mean, many people don't even have the ability to go to a gym. So I try to take bands that you can have at home, maybe a couple of kettlebells that
Hmm.
you can buy at Target or something, some 25-pound weights, and I usually start them off small. I'm like, because it's more about the confidence as well. I see a lot of people. I don't have the confidence to go to the gym. I don't, being trained.
I
I
hear
just
that a
feel
lot
like
from customers. They actually DM me and they say, I don't feel ready yet. I like your brand, and can you talk to me? Because they say I'm just not ready to go into spaces like that. And that's my mission, is to like open all this up so that everybody feels like comfortable one day to just go in.
Yeah. And I say, what I think a big part of it comes from self-confidence in yourself. You're not used to the machines. You're not used to going into the gym with a routine yet, where most people do. They know what they're walking into when they go there. And, I say maybe even try to push them off. I send them most of my trans people that come to me, or even cisgendered. I'm like, I have trainers that do online training. I personally don't do it myself. It's just between work and everything else, I just and helping the community, I don't have
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
But I do have friends that are, certified. This is what they do for a living, and I try to push them to somebody they know that can feel comfortable within the community. And I can give them certain building blocks. I'm like, try this first. If you feel you can handle this area, this workout routine with what you have. Some friends have a small gym in their apartment complex. I tell them to send me pictures and I try to say, okay, this is what you have there. Then I'm going to send you this. Once you feel comfortable with that, reach out to these people in the community, which they can spend personal quality time with you about meal plans, find out what
Right.
you like to eat at home. You can't go off of what you see at bodybuilding.com.
Well, and,
you
and
know?
and specifically, I'm very curious for F to M folks, basically, because they're going to be biologically the closest to your experience. Uh, do you feel like there's enough education out there from both medical, healthcare, and maybe the fitness industry to explain to them that yes, let's say that they've started hormones, right? But that's not the whole story. Like you can't just look like you. People can't look like Paulo
Yeah.
just because they started testosterone as a trans person. So I think if you can reduce that like to a very simple like idea for people to walk away with, because when they listen to this, I would love for them to maybe reach back out to you and say like, oh, I heard you talk about this. But what I would say is, and I'm not an expert, but is whether it's TRT for a person who is cisgendered or for a trans person who's on testosterone, it's a whole puzzle. One piece is just the hormone, and then the rest is a lot of nutrition, weightlifting, getting good sleep. So I would love to hear it from you because you're the actual person in that experience.
So, transition it is. I try to explain when you transition from the beginning, it's till where I'm at. You're at a constant state of transition.
Mm-hmm.
It never really stops. You see, when it comes, there's a lot of trans people that I see that aren't on hormones. They don't want to use hormones, but they do self-identify, or they just want to have the chest surgery and not deal with it, which I understand. Everybody, I mean, being transgender is an umbrella term. There's non-binary, binary. We all exist, under this umbrella. So when it comes to this, I try to think of simple form, and I try to explain. You will always be, and it's not just trans people. This comes to cisgendered people. We are always in a constant state of transition.
Agreed. Agreed.
So
It's a constant
it's
state of regeneration and death. Like we're also decaying sometimes, and it's new cells. It's all of it. I fully agree. I'm glad you said that.
And it's not just that. Our interactions with food change over time. What you could eat 5 years ago, it's like I can't eat now. you know. So you have to feel your body,
Yeah.
and I say learn your body. feel comfortable. Hormones are one step. If they choose to go with hormones, that's going to be, for the at least, I try to explain really well, for the at least 4 to 5 years, your body is going to be in a constant adjustment. Especially if you still have your original birth organs. You're just fighting each other until they can finally find a balance. It's just, that's your body naturally. So try to stick to your education. Find out how your body reacts to certain foods. Some of us can eat gluten, others can't. Some can eat high estrogen, foods like soybean and tofu, and others can't because it affects hormones. Really, it really does.
Yeah.
So I try to explain it like what you need to do is learn about yourself. Don't have these high expectations. You can have a goal set for yourself. We all have a goal set for ourselves, but make small goals at first, baby steps. Once you reach that, you'll start to get I can reach this goal. Oh, I reached this goal. And then it builds on each other. I did all this in a couple of months, then I can step up for this goal. Don't have this overachievement and realize that your body is constantly changing. That's part of life. The best thing that I can do is just, like I said, it's communication and community. I honestly don't know all the information, but I can lead you to people that will not judge you and can actually help you step of the way. Those people understand what I'm trying to explain. And as long as you keep it, and I've met people outside of the community that are willing to help the community. So it's just a matter of here, this is what I have to offer as somebody from the community. I try to post workouts when I can, or what I eat sometimes. So people are like, oh, wow, it's amazing. You ate 15 eggs.
That's right.
It's like, yes, but, I didn't get here in a year. I've been doing this and I try to post as much as I can. This is a 13-year
decade and
journey.
a half. Yeah. You're coming off the center of the camera. Can we bring you back? Yeah, there you go. We don't want to lose you. Yeah, that's awesome. No, I'm glad you could say that, and that's also the way that I operate things here. LED Queens, comes from me. I'm primarily a journalist, author, designer, but I can point people to the right resource when they have a question. Now, I have kind of a new format that we're developing here on the go, because you're the second guest we've ever had, and the way in which we kind of go through that this whole journey. I mean, you basically really shared so much. You've been generous with what your life is like, and people can now find you. But one of the things we talk about now, and it's a positive spin on COVID, is because we're sheltering in place, and you're a very busy person with a busy job that's very demanding, but you have a pretty good fitness regimen and discipline. It's a twofold question. How are you working out right now? Like what equipment, how does that work out for your life? And then the final part is, we always ask for 2 power songs, like on your playlist. Like, what are you playing right now that when you just hear it, you're like, oh, I'm going to get this thing done, So share how COVID's how you've adapted to COVID to continue your training.
So I've always had a couple of gym, weights in my garage, just for days that I just feel like doing abs, or I constantly, because of my shoulder injury from the past, I'm always doing the small, easy band exercises and therapy. That's never stopped for me. It shouldn't. If anybody has an injury, please just, they should keep up with the smaller, muscles and the little things that the therapists leave you with, because, if you forget about them, then those little small muscles that you've developed end up disappearing and you get the pain back. But anyways, so I've always had that. I just ended up getting a cheap workbench, to be honest. It's like a $200 deal off of Walmart. It had a squat rack and a bench on it. And I just kind of switch up as much as I can in there. Can I do the heavy weight that I do at a normal gym? No.
No, me neither. I'm using dumbbells right now. Yeah.
It's all about adapting, which in life in general. And again, transition. I have to transition my whole workout and lifestyle to being in a small setting in a garage. High repetitions if I have to. that seems to get the pump. Going from 3 sets on a normal body part, excuse me, to 4 or 5 even at high reps of 30 because I want to get the pump. That's the it's not always about the weight. If you can get the pump, you're also still ripping the muscle or doing the goal that you're trying to achieve. And at this time, you just try to push yourself. To be honest, for me, the hardest thing is trying to stay motivated in the garage, which is hard for a lot of people right now. It's just finding the motivation. I mean, it's hard to be in the garage where I don't, like a normal gym, I see other people working out that give me this energy. Oh, cool. We're all working out together. The mirrors that you see, where you see yourself flexing. You don't have that. So you kind of lose that energy that you normally get. That's what brings you to the gym. Yes, the weights are there, but I feed off of other people's energies. That's something I do personally. And so when I see all these people working out hard, it just encourages me to work out hard. Yeah. So, it's just clicking in the mode. Got to get these goals.
I don't have. What are your calories like right now? Are you basically doing maintenance calories? Because like for a lot of people, most people I've talked to, including LED fans, right? A lot of people, because we don't know how long restrictions will be for shelter in place, etc. Most people have gone to like just maintenance calories just to maintain what they got, which is what I'm doing. And so far it's working. Yeah. How about you though?
I'm still doing kind of like a middle base. Luckily I do cardio every morning still every day, so I still get that burn
indoors.
But yeah, I mean for me it's doing it. I switch it up. I teach Chihuahuas like today. We went on a 1.5 mile walk. I try to keep it in 30 minutes or less.
Yeah.
And then I have a spin bike that I do 30 minutes in the morning before I go to work because I like to wake up and be woke and get the blood flow going. But my calories right now, I mean, I'm not as strict as I would be if I was in the gym. I just, like I said, to try to be that strict and not have the routine that I normally have, it just makes it less motivating to try to keep at that level when I don't have what I need. So I'm just kind of relaxed a little bit. I, cycle my carbs still. One day I'll just be like, oh, I'm going to be super high. And other days I'll be like, I'm going to keep it to my first 3 meals. I kind of challenge myself with that, like, okay, these are the 2 days and give myself something to look forward to. Oh yeah, Friday I'm going to do high carbs. That means, all of the good stuff, but I got to do this week. I got to stay at these meals this week.
So here's the part then where we bring it all together, because I know you just said one of the struggles right now is that motivation because you're indoors and so are we. Yeah. But one thing that you're doing magically right now through YouTube, and when people hear this on the podcast, it's the best we can do with digital. Now you're motivating people because they're like, oh shit, he's doing all this stuff. He's still training. He's, eating for his performance, etc. So now here's the mega magical part. And I really wish I had the money to afford the rights licensing so I could play the actual songs. But if you can mention your 2 power songs at the moment that where right now they get you out of that funk and you're like, I am motivated. I'm going to imagine there's mirrors and a huge gym full of people. What are those songs?
So I know, like, I go back, I'm an older generation to the 80s. I grew up on those kind of songs. My dad, it's just all the sports that I did. One big one that I still love every time it comes is the Eye of the Tiger. We all know that one.
Yes.
Now when I hear it, I'm like, I'm done. Going.
All right.
And then, the queerness in me, obviously, I have to go with, I know you're going to laugh, but Vogue by Madonna.
I'm never going to laugh about that shit. I mean, I grew up on Madonna. People don't know I'm like a mega Madonna fan. So you're gold star for you.
Every time I hear that song, it's like, oh, because it goes with flexing, like I'll make it into a dance and I'll be like, yes, I compose. And people laugh at me and I'm like, whatever, you laugh at me. It's fun, but it makes it, when it clicks in, it takes a break in the seriousness, but I'm still motivated. I just love that song when it pops on anywhere that I'm at. To be honest, Target sometimes throws it because now we have music in our stores. You'll hear some of Madonna's and this one pops up every once in a while and I'll just go crazy in the store and everybody laughs. They're like, the maintenance man's losing it. But yeah, no, those two.
Those are mega
Those are,
songs, and I'd like to always make sure I don't overpromise, but there will hopefully come a day when restrictions are lifted such and our world has adapted to this life with the virus or whatever, where I can have events. One of the things people don't know is that just 2 years ago, I was trying to get LED Queens with a booth into places like the Arnold Fitness Expo, which we need more queer presence there. But I was also trying to get it into DragCon, like RuPaul's DragCon out in LA. Those are still things that are my goals. So just because the virus has restricted us, they're still the goals. But there'll come a day, I think, when hopefully we can get LED Queens out to California. It could be DragCon, could be whatever. But we're going to Vogue together one day soon
please do.
in person. Yeah, that'd be great.
And
Yeah.
I would love it, and I'll have to come in Chicago itself. I love that city.
IML.
I've been there once and I just fell in love with it. Of course, it wasn't during the winter. I could say otherwise when the winter comes. But no, once this is over, I think I'm going to take another trip again. I have a few friends out there still, and obviously you, and it would be fun.
Yes, you have a home here, so I can't wait for you to visit. And IML is a big component of life here in Chicago, so maybe you can come once it's up and going again.
I love that. Yeah, no, I haven't been to IML yet. I want to compete. That'll come one day. But
well, I would applaud that. That'd be awesome because it's evolved so much and it keeps evolving. But there's a lot of bright things in it, which to me is obviously the more inclusive it gets, the better things get. And the fact that we've had trans competitors, but also winners over the past decade has been a delight for me. Because I'll tell you, in other spaces inside IML, so that's the competition level, but sometimes culturally inside the Leather Mart and all the other things that happen, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle to get that inclusivity sometimes because it can skew like real narrow. And so just the more diverse people that we can get, all the experiences that we can get in there, the better. And I'll wave. Can we have like Team Paulo? Yeah, we'll come with like banners or whatever. That's awesome. How can people find you besides Instagram? You do some community work, so I want to make sure that we don't miss the opportunity for at least, it doesn't have to be you specifically, but you work locally. Maybe you want to drop some of those because there's probably going to be a lot of queer folks who are anywhere on the gender spectrum who are maybe struggling, and they can at least get a resource through you by being a guest on this show today.
Definitely please reach out to me through my Instagram. If you can find me on Facebook, I do. Hold on. Sorry about that. Chair fell off.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
This is what's amazing about doing things live. This is like recorded for posterity. Don't break your shit. Don't break your shit.
No. I have to end everybody with a laugh. It was a good fall. No, definitely find me on Facebook also, Paulo Batista. I'll be more than happy. It's set private just due to work, but I still answer and accept friends. Otherwise, there's the group that I do work out here, and like I said, it's open to anybody. It's called Trans Family Support Services. One word, Trans Family, and then Support Services. They're on Facebook as well, and also Trans Family SOS on Instagram. They're open to adults. They're open to anybody. It's a nonprofit. We answer questions. You don't have to be trans. You can be cis or just in the queer gender. And if you have questions, well, they're more than happy to answer anything possible. Especially right now with unemployment. We go out of our way to help in each and every way to answer questions. We have people in the legal fields that are a part of the board. So if you have anybody has a question, you can shoot them, hey, I have it, sent to you that you're a nonprofit. Do you have anything that you can help me to extend to help answer my questions? And most likely, if they can't answer it, they know people who can. So we always it's an amazing group. It's, I know it says trans family, but it's LGBTQ ally,
Sure.
every one of us.
It's a
Um,
resource you
we
vet that's vetted by you, so we're glad to mention it. So that's great.
And you can tell them I sent you,
Good.
because they're even better. They know that you heard it through me, and when they hear that, oh, Paulo sent you. Okay, we know that he led you in the right direction. He's already explained a lot of, what is possible, and they know I'm a true figure in their board. So
That's brilliant. So we're going to start wrapping up. And one thing that I noticed, somebody actually sent me a note through SMS. They were really lovely because they actually helped me with the live stream to make sure there's no technical issues. We had a sound drop when you mentioned your accident at the beginning. So and it's just we didn't hear what you fell off of. What was it? A vehicle?
oh, yeah, I was thrown out of a Jeep at the time, 70 feet, into the middle of a 4 lane, roadway.
Oh my!
And yeah, I ended up landing. I don't even know. I was like, angels were watching over me, I guess. But I landed
Gay
on my
angels.
rear. Yeah, somebody was watching me. I'm
Queer,
not
queer,
sure.
queer angels. Let's make them a little whiter. They were queer angels. Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up, you know, landing on my pelvis, and that's what causes all the fractures, and ended up rolling. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was something that changed my life forever. I mean,
Yeah. Those
to
things
learn how
do.
to,
They do.
and you have to look into yourself to learn how to walk again and get that kind of motivation. You realize how strong you can be at the worst moments.
That's the perfect way to close. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to be continuing this series. So when we look back in the future and we go, remember when they started those interviews at LED Queens? You can say I was the second guest ever. So thank you so much, Paulo. I look forward to seeing, of course, your development as a person, but then also just how much you're pushing your physique on Instagram because it is very inspiring for everybody. And I'm glad that you're part of the LED Queens. What would we call it? Ecosystem? Let's do that. Let's say that. So I hope you have a great day. And now we're going to wrap up. So I'm going to hit the end button, okay? So everybody, thank you for attending the live stream. Don't forget, this will be a live stream that we leave up on YouTube. It will become part of the podcast for the Cesar Torres podcast. So this will be a edited episode that will feature Paulo. And then, of course, if you want to use a coupon code, use coupon code new LED fan for 10% off your first purchase. Thank you. All right.